I was born and raised in California, and so I guess that's like the setting. But you know what? I didn't really want to go to college. That's I guess my first confession. It was more of an accident that I even applied to college. I remember my last year of high school, I went in the advisor's office with one of my friends, and he was looking up applications, and the advisor was showing him like different UCs to apply to, and then the advisor asked me, what about you? And at that point, I didn't really, it's not that I just really didn't care. So I was like, I don't know. And so he gave me an application for a community college named Mount San Antonio College. And so I think I remember just applying there and handing him the application. So that's kind of how I got into college. I did have family and friends that supported me along the way, and they're really important, but I feel like my journey was one that I felt quite alone. So I started going to community college, and I went part-time because I worked full-time because like most of the people where I grew up, we were kind of brought up to be tough kind of men. And if you see here, that's me and my friend Danny. We're looking like really tough, and I should be smiling a lot more because I just graduated high school. But so a lot of us are brought up with this idea of, okay, after high school, that's the public education you get, so now it's time for you to go work. And so I think me and another friend of mine were the only ones to go to college and finish college. And so I went to community college, and I ended up spending about 7 years there because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I think I wandered around through most of community college, switching majors. I remember I thought, okay, I want to be a psychology major because I like how the brain works. And then I took another psychology class I didn't like, and I thought, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then I ended up deciding on being an English major. And that was really cool because I was into stories, and then we had to analyze these stories, and I was like, okay, I don't really want to do that either. And so I found creative writing in a creative writing club there at Mount San Antonio Community College, and I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. And so I focused a lot on that and trying to find a a university I could transfer to that would allow me to do creative writing. Around that time, one of my good friends named Miguel, he found out I wanted to do creative writing and that I was getting really into writing poetry and stuff. And he told me, he said, you have to write a book about us so they know who we are. And what struck me is that he didn't explain who they was, but I knew who we were, and growing up with a bunch of brown boys that looked like me, we know who they were who didn't know our story, so I kept that with me. And so I eventually ended up transferring to the University of California, Riverside, and I was really excited. I was okay, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to study creative writing, and I made it after these 7 years through community college, I'll be good. And I have a very clear memory of my first week at UC Riverside. I'm standing in front of outside the classroom waiting for the first class to get out, and there's all these little pockets of friends and people that know each other, and I'm standing by myself, and I have my schedule in my hand folded very small so that they can't see me making sure I'm at the right classroom, because I realized they all not only knew each other, but they knew their way around the campus, and I didn't. And there was no one that first week, even first semester, that I could really connect with. So I was really wondering if I could actually do that, because the UC Riverside was about a half-an-hour drive, and so I would commute and I wouldn't see my friends as much, and I worried about kind of losing contact with them. But I did remember what Miguel said about having to write that book and talk about us, and I knew that I had to kind of learn the craft things by getting my education. So I decided to spend more time at school. I went to school, I commuted really early in the morning, I stayed all day really late. I took all the creative writing courses I could take. I took ethnic studies, really interested me. I joined their Latino newspaper. I joined another group that mentored kids from around that town where the university was, who lived in like the impoverished town, and we mentored them through the arts. And so I was doing all of that, making really important friends and people I could connect with and people that supported me at school. And during one of those ethnic studies classes, I came upon this figure. Now it talks about out of 100 elementary school students being Chicano or Chicana, depending on the route you take. So I took the route of, I'm one of the 46 that graduated, then that number goes down to 26 who enrolled in college, 17 of which go to community college. One, which was being me, transfers to a 4-year. And out of all those 100, only 8 would get a BA, 2 to earn a graduate degree, and 0.2 or less than 1 to get a PhD out of 100 Chicana students. So I kept that figure in mind, and it kind of aligned with what Miguel was telling me. And so I started, I'd been doing all those things, all those extracurriculars, and what was happening at home that I didn't think about, that I kind of started worrying about, was that spending so much time at school was really good, but I kind of lost contact with all those friends. I lost track of them. And so that was really hard, because that's something that I think untraditional students, or maybe a lot of students of color, encounter, because not a lot of, out of 12 of my friends growing up, maybe only two of us went to college. So that was another thing that was kind of difficult to do, but I had to keep in mind that what I was doing was not just for me, but for them. So I ended up, that last year as a transfer student at UC Riverside, I applied for an MFA. I applied to like 20 schools. I got into like a handful of them, one of them being right here at MSU. And I took the spot, and so I finally graduated after going to community college for 7 years and the 2 years as a transfer student. I graduated with honors, and I was asked to be the commencement speaker at my graduation. And this here is now me and Danny. This was maybe, 9 years after. And what's funny is that we're like smiling actually now this time. It's not, what that kind of did, he would always say he was really proud of me. And so for me to have graduated, it wasn't just about my own journey, but it was about what it meant for him and things like that. And I didn't forget how important that was to me. I remember the last thing I'll say is the summer right before I left, my friends had like a little barbecue for us, and we were hanging out in my front yard. And we were about to wrap up, and one of my other friends started chanting, "Speech, speech, speech," like kind of a joke. And then we all laughed, and then I jumped up on the bed of my truck, and then I did thank them for, because all of my friends showed up for the barbecue, and I thanked them for kind of supporting me along the way, even though I didn't get to see them as much anymore during my time when I started taking school very seriously. And I just really appreciated the support that they had for me. And so I did the MFA here. I'm still writing. I still write about them, and I feel like part of my journey as a college student was to do it for them along with myself and my family. So thank you.